Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And if you thought yesterday of the Kickoff Classic was an entertaining affair, today it definitely blew that out of the water. Incredible matches, remarkable upsets, in an all things considered incredibly entertaining state of events. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Without further ado, let's just dive straight into some remarkable matches. And well, the first one of which was Atlanta FaZe versus the Seattle Surge. We know what happened last time these two teams matched up, back at the Stage 5 Major. Classic went rogue on them, Game 5 standoff, search and destroy, knocked FaZe out of the tourney. That's well, the one tourney outside of Stage 2 Major where they were in the Grand Finals, lost to Toronto, that they did not win last season. They won everything else. Seattle knocked them out. History today repeated itself once again. It did not look likely to, frankly though, because Surge are really good it seems. At least, well, we know their SMG players are very strong. Mack, well, we saw what Pred was capable of today as well, right? And certainly Simp can run every gun and be pretty phenomenal with it. But well, Cellium, Game 1 here on Bakaj, was dominating proceedings. It really felt like, okay, well, FaZe really have come to play here, right? They're going to take down Seattle. They're going to find a way through this series. All the talk going into it, right? Because I said earlier today, if there was one series I'd bet on an upset, it was probably this one, right? Because I really felt like Seattle could give them a good go. But after this Game 1, I was not so convinced. But then Game 2 happens. It goes on Tuscan Search and Destroy all the way to around 11. And well, Sid was dominating this round 11, first of all. Gets two really big kills right here. Of course, well, the former substitute of Atlanta FaZe last season, right? Now getting his actual shot in the Prelly. We've heard about this guy for a long time. Now, also, this was kind of interesting because the crowds, like, we know FaZe are kind of the villains, right, going into this year. They've been the dominant force. Everyone kind of wants to see someone else actually get a chance to win some stuff. So, yeah, and just the way they've kind of conducted themselves in the off-season definitely created a little bit of spark of a villain nature in, well, what's happening going forwards. So, well, generally, the crowd were certainly supporting Seattle to take them down. And, well, Arcitys hopped on the bomb. This is kind of just the thing that happens with LAN, with a crowd environment, that, well, people are going to start making noise, right? So, could Simp hear the crowd? He probably could. Then again, though, like, he probably would have checked the bomb anyway, because if you look at the timer, Arcitys hops on it at about 13, Simp comes flying around the corner at 7.5, it's certainly understandable he would peak at that exact moment, and as well, Arcitys does say he did delete this after the fact, but yeah, so was Simp going to check the bomb? So the immediate reaction might have been that the crowd gave it away to some degree to, well, help taking down FaZe, but it will still, that tied up the series to 1-1, but still, plenty of work to be done for both teams to make it happen, and this is where Pred really came alive. Like, I'm just so impressed with these guys on Seattle. The thing that impresses me the most, not just their skill, but the fact that so many rookies we've seen come in the last few years, they haven't really had that much of a personality, right? There's a lot of new players in the league. How many of them really stand out like a Scump, Crimsix, these type of guys that are of course going to move on at some point or another? Now, Pred and Civ are certainly two characters here on Seattle that do exactly that. You know Pred, like, he's standing up, he's shouting across the main stage, he's having a good time, he's already making some fans, right? It's just great to see new personalities coming in from, well, from the amateur scene that are now really making their mark on the Pro League straight away. And it's not just the personality of this guy, but it's also what he's capable of inside the server itself. 31 in 19 on Guarantee Control, dominated here against FaZe, and well, that's it, they take a dominant control really, which is a surprise because, well, FaZe last year, they barely lost to Control. Of course, look, it's early doors, it's before the official season has even began, but certainly very impressive here, what they were able to do in these respawns. And then the final map of the series, this was kind of controversial, we'll have to look at something that happened here in a second, but I mean, still, FaZe were up pretty massively here, up by like 30-40 points. I thought it was probably over. Yes, it's going to a Game 5, and then Surge make a crazy comeback down the stretch. Like, I mean, as you can see at the end there, Sid was just dominating. He was just popping pieces all across the park. Pred's getting hyped on the main stage. Mack's just kind of cold as ice. And, well, accuracy, the aBeZy Institute of How to Play Call of Duty is working out wonderfully well for these guys early on. So, very impressive stuff. Like, just remarkable. Yes, it's before the season's even begun, but still, at this event, all 12 teams are there in a bracket. Whoever wins this is probably going to count it as a victory. It might not be quite as important as a major, but it's still a championship victory nonetheless, and for FaZe to get rounded like this is quite surprising. Yes, we know Surge were very strong in the hard points going into this, but the fact that they got beaten 3-1 pretty comfortably in the end by this Seattle team that we didn't know how they were going to be in other modes does set the stage for a very entertaining season indeed. Yes, last year Florida beat them in the kickoff. We saw what happened after that. So, well, not reading into things too much as of yet, but it's still an exciting series nonetheless. Seeing FaZe, despite, I mean, Cellium especially put on a good show, but the guys on Seattle were simply too much to handle. This also was noticed on this map as well, this Tuscan hardpoint towards the end, that, well, for some reason, sometimes a player can just spawn in like number 3 right here, and just, well, straight off the map. Unlucky pal, you've got to spawn up in another 5 seconds, as aBeZy says. So this did obviously cost FaZe to some degree right here. That's unfortunate. I imagine they will fix it in due course. But, I mean, yeah, still does not take anything away from the dominance Seattle put up this series. Again, history repeats itself. Seattle, well, they came at Major 5. They've done it again at the Kickoff Classic without Classic on the team, and I'm sure they're going to do their best to try that again again as the season progresses. As accuracy says, GG's FaZe 1-3-1, drown them out, as well. Classic, of course. The dominant force that he was at the Stage 5 major. Definitely kind of harnessing the classic spirit here. Seattle were most certainly today. And as Simp says, GG's to Seattle, lost 3-1, was a fun kickoff onto the real season. Definitely some more drama about this that we don't have time to get into today. And I thought this is kind of funny from, well, Simp's father, classic stat. And Simp kind of replies, he's definitely taking it on the chin. It's preseason stuff, but, well, entertaining stuff hitting, no doubt. And yes, it's Pred and Simp dominating the stat lines. Incredibly impressive to look at. Sets the scene incredibly nicely for the season to come. And it will great match on the whole. This also, if Mars sees, some crowd was having a go at him. I'm pretty sure, personal insults and stuff. Don't know what this guy's doing, man. Look at yourself in the mirror, pal. If there's anyone to go at, it's not Arcitys. This guy's absolute class. And, well, he drops the middle finger. Can't really blame him at all. He comes out on the timeline and says, yeah, look, shouldn't have flipped off the kids, but I'm fine with getting told I suck or go home, but please don't take any personal shots. People defending Arcitys, but just, frankly, an iconic image already. This is why I love LAN, right? You get images like this that you don't get in an online environment, so you get some of them, but nothing quite to this level. I'm sure this will be memed for quite some time to come. But let's talk about the next series. Just going to brush over this one quite briefly. Relatively dull. Ultra versus Florida Mutineers. We hadn't really seen what Toronto were capable of all that much, right? They've been scrimming in Europe now for quite some time before coming back very recently to the US. They will have a nice early advantage here on the Florida Mutineers game 1. They take the Gamma 2. They then lose the game 2, I believe, on Berlin Search and Destroy 6-2, but then they take the rest of the respawn. So yes, Search and Destroy looking a little bit suspect, but the respawn and the understanding of how to play the game for Toronto still seems to be there, and the talent has really never been a question on that team. CleanX, especially on this final map, was completely disgusting. He had so many engagements compared to the rest of the guys in the entire lobby. So yes, Toronto against Florida. They knocked Florida out of there. Toronto continue on. Of course, always a difficult team to beat, and with FaZe gone, they're of course the highest average placing team left in this tournament from last season. So exciting stuff, no doubt. The next series that went on was New York versus Minnesota Rokkr. Exciting one, really, because who knew how good exactly New York were going to be against Rokkr? This, of course, was Rokkr's first series coming in here. They got the bye, and New York looked good yesterday, to be fair, against Boston Breach. And this series was definitely a back and forth affair. I was really impressed by the clutch factor here, I think, from New York. The game 1 was frankly ridiculous. It was a barrage hardpoint, and it just looked like Minnesota Rokkr could no way lose this. They outslayed by 22 kills, would you believe? Major Maniak goes plus 15 for the L, and the subliners guys all negative. You would not think, looking at this scoreboard, that it was actually the subliners that won this. But Minnesota Rokkr not really getting in the hill as much as they could have done. This seems to be a characteristic, really, of Crimsix's teams in general. That they do a good job of getting outslayed and winning maps, which of course can't be a bad trait at all. They take the game 1. Game 2 is very entertaining. There was a bit of a sniper battle. There were some nice snipes going on, but by no means I thought it was overpowered. I think Attach only had 2 kills in the entire map. They were 2 with a sniper, but every other map he didn't really get too much done. He didn't get a kill from this spot, but here goes Clayster again with the unintended line of sight, right? So this guy's out of control, and eventually New York win this map 5-6-3, I'm pretty sure. And then at the final map as well, this was super mixy on this Tuscan control. It was 2-1 in favor of Minnesota. Then Crimsix and Hydra together both go absolutely rogue with the SMGs, and Clayster in this round, I'm pretty sure as well, or maybe it was the final round, made some really good kind of cruddy plays to stay alive in the back and do a great job holding off the Rokkr. And yes, it's New York that in the end, a close series all things considered, but it's a 3-0 in favor of New York, so they will move on to play Seattle Surge on the first semi-final tomorrow. And then the final series of the day, this was OpTic Texas versus Los Angeles Thieves. This was way more entertaining than I thought it might be. I honestly thought OpTic might run away with this one. In this kind of grudge match type series, they usually do pretty well. Was not the case here, despite looking really good online early this season. Seemed like on LAN they couldn't quite find the fire like they have done online so far. And a very interesting series, frankly. LA Thieves came out with the fire, and understandably so. The crowd was getting them riled up. You could tell the look on Envoy's face when he came out and looked at the crowd like he really wanted to win this series. And Octane was certainly doing his thing as well, formerly an OpTic member for sure. So let's dive into how this one transpired. As Nadeshot says before things even kick off, LA Thieves versus Texas, hoping for an instant classic. That's the thing. Coming into this year, I was kind of thinking, okay, which LA team's going to underperform? I thought one of them would. So far, it seems like LAG might well be that team. Thieves versus Texas, so that's a rivalry, or Thieves versus OpTic in general. That's a rivalry we've been hoping to be fantastic for quite a long time. Wasn't last year, and maybe it's back in business this time around. So, game 1, Drazah was a monster. This is the thing I thought was kind of interesting, deciding to play Thieves on Gamma 2, just because they seem to be so good on the map. Every single time I've seen them scrimmage, they're dominating it. And to be fair, OpTic are kind of the same, but Drazah just, for some reason, I think this is the new checkmate for Drazah. He was a force to be reckoned with here, especially towards the end of this map. He goes on a 5 streak, goes over to the new hardpoint, back to the first rotation, and gets a crazy set of kills as well to finish off the job. So, very impressive map. Honestly, OpTic started off super slow. Scump was 5 in 14, seen early on. So definitely a hotter start from Scump, I think, would have turned this series around. And very similar story really in the Search and Destroy that I find kind of surprising. Like, it really felt like kind of OpTic were kind of shocked in a way. They didn't really expect to lose the game 1. They go down like 3-0, 4-0 in the game 2, and they felt a little bit shell-shocked, to be honest. It was kind of a surprise to see them that way, given well, the upgrades they've made to their team theoretically here. And Octane was seeing some nasty snipes, as he tends to do on the Los Angeles Thieves side. So awesome to see the sniper back in business. Now, to be fair, LA Thieves do really make it, well, they kind of throw this one away a little bit. They throw a couple of rounds. OpTic do string a little bit of momentum together, but up 5-1, it goes 5-4, and then Los Angeles Thieves closes out 6-4. So definitely OpTic, you know, the first couple of maps, if they'd have started off a little stronger, they probably would have been able to close one of these out. But they don't do so. They go to the game 3 though in the control after going down 2-0. They would have to pull off a reverse sweep to survive their very first tournament hill, their very first match right of this tournament. And well, it's a Tuscan control and then a Tuscan hardpoint. This was a fantastic Tuscan control. We'll have a look at that here in a second. First, I wanted to shout out Kenny, because this guy has been on fire, especially this game 2 was double positive. Like, you know what Kenny was doing back in World War II. Seems like maybe a similar character here, to be honest, in Vanguard a few years later in another Sledgehammer game. But this was the good hold that they had first round in this Tuscan control. Very interesting game, especially, well, the particularly interesting round was the final round that they won, which was an offensive round that the OpTic guys take, and incredibly impressive, really, because usually people just go to A, they cap that, then they go to B and try and get it, but it's really difficult. What OpTic decided to do is just keep flooding B over and over again at the start. They make it work and cap it, which is super hard to do, and then eventually they get A. They get kind of spawn trapped for a bit. Shotzzy makes a nice play to get through, wins this game 3-1, and then it goes to another Tuscan hardpoint, where OpTic have another fantastic start. It was a crazy end to this map as well, really down to the wire. Like, it seems to be kind of easy to break hardpoints in this game just because you have so many nades and there's no trophies. But yeah, Los Angeles Thieves, it was Envoy of all players right at the death that makes 2 fantastic plays, gets a 3-piece, then gets the final 2-piece as well to finish out the game. So remarkable that it's Envoy of all people to kind of finish the revenge arc in that sense. Takes down the series over OpTic. And yes, a big surprise. I thought OpTic would win this one. LA Thieves come through and honestly kind of win this series relatively comfortably. The maps were very close, but it felt like on the whole they probably were the better team on the day. And that is it for OpTic here at the Kickoff Classic. So Thieves will play Toronto in tomorrow's semi-final. Quite remarkable really that FaZe and OpTic, the 2 big favourites for the event, go out both in the very first match that they play. Definitely intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. These were the overall series scoreboards. Dashy the most positive of anyone. Scump didn't have a great series by any means with a 0.83. But yeah, Drazah, Kenny, Octane, especially in that final map, definitely came alive. And well, some people are asking this question already. OpTic fans watching them fry during scrims struggle when it matters. You know, maybe we've seen this one before. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting a like button tells the YouTube gods this is a good video. I just like you should see it as well. And help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.